that. Oh yeah, also today, something I will talk about for sure, is that the Supreme Court ruled that state level bans, categorical bans on transgender care can stand. The during Pride Month, the Supreme Court ruled, yeah, it's okay for states to ban transgender care and discriminate against transgender people when providing medical care, if that's the state law stipulates as such. Because trans people are not subject to the 14th Amendment, I guess, or the Equal Protection Clause. Of course, underwritten in that is that, like, if states seek to pass protections for trans care, they can also do that. I assume the Supreme Court would admit this through gritted teeth. But nonetheless, this is a massive damaging blow to trans rights because more states are controlled by Republicans than Democrats. And even some blue states have been shockingly willing to concede ground on the issue of trans rights specifically. It ain't good. And, of course, because that's not insult to injury enough, the Trump administration announced that the National Queer Suicide Prevention Hotline, you know, the 988 hotline where you can call if you have issues with, like, suicidal ideation and stuff, where you can talk to somebody and like, talk yourself down from potentially taking yourself out. The administration decided we're going to eliminate the section of that is dedicated specifically to queer youth. This was created in 2022 in response to an increased proportion of queer and particularly trans youth committing suicide. And the program was massively successful. It is a very useful resource. Of course, it's not enough, but it is something. And the Trump administration unilaterally decided that in 30 days' time, they will be ending it entirely. Now, if you need to get talked down from doing anything that could take yourself out permanently, you would have to go to the regular 988 hotline, which obviously I would still recommend anybody do if they are struggling with severe mental health issues. However, it is nonetheless a staggering attack on trans rights and queer rights generally that the administration said this was specifically designed to prevent queer youth from killing themselves. Let's get rid of that so that more queer youth kill themselves. Trump administration to shutter specialized queer suicide lifeline option. Also, when I say queer, I'm shortening the acronym of LGBT or LGBTQ, LGBTQ plus, whatever. Suicide lifeline option sparking backlash. Great. Oh, great. They do the whole LGB drop the T thing in their announcement too, the administration. Spirit ideology is just the show Attack on Titan. Yeah. One of those fucking sicko ideologies that's just like everyone must be going through it to the maximal extent possible at all times. Why? Because I fucking feel like it. It's like, what? Why? Why? I mean, to answer, like, I guess I kind of answered my own question there with why, because they feel like it. But, you know, sometimes it does kind of prompt you to wonder, like, oh, why the fuck would they feel like it, right? You know, with conservatism being the ideology that it is, like, why the fuck would anybody support this? Number one, because ideology is for the masses and is manufactured from the top down, especially in instances of pro-hierarchy or otherwise conservative ideologies, so that people in power can remain in power. That's one component of it. But also, what leads people to pick up on those ideologies is because they're incels. People are lonely and antisocial, and with that comes a lot of antisocial tendencies and self-destructive behavior that takes the form of lashing out against people. But because of the, paradoxically and ironically, because of the increasingly antisocial social climate, especially in the United States, there's not even anybody around to lash out at. So they're forced to vicariously act that out through other venues, through online interaction, message boards, and politics. It is literally the ideology of I am a fucking, you know, I'm a danger to myself and others, you know? It's mentally ill people acting out because they feel cheated by the world and are, like, very antisocial and reactionary and like can't function properly, you know? And that's why like any institution anywhere does shit like this, because from one perspective this is part of a broader ideology that props up hegemonic institutional power, but then on the other hand it's because the mass approval for this ideology, to the extent that they've succeeded in manufacturing it, comes from fucking lonely online incels who are like incapable of functioning, but are incapable of expressing that dysfunction because there's a distinct lack of social environments within which to express it. Antisociality is actually still a set of tendencies, a set of social tendencies that has to be expressed to be visible. And these people don't like being invisible. That's part of what makes people upset. So they need a venue to express that. And of course, because so much of this is very like reactionary coded, there's like a lot of psychosexual implications to this kind of ideology, where they hate people that are more self-actualized with respect to however they see themselves, and frequently that comes in the form of you know, queer people, trans people, because they view them as being true to themselves in a way that they are incapable of, maybe that they've forgotten how to be, you know. Am I doing the most far righters are like closeted trans people or queer people meme? Kind of, a little bit. But it doesn't even necessarily have to be that. I think a lot of them are just stuck in the maelstrom. They've entered the weave and they can't leave it. They cannot find the exit to the weave. You know? And they're trying to take out their frustration, but there's nowhere even to do that anymore. So they want to like bring the whole world down with them. Leftist meme, that is why incels are the way they are, and that's why the ruling ideology of conservatism has morphed into what it is, and that's why the government like does this shit fundamentally, just because they are spiteful, they are hateful, they represent a constituency that is spiteful and hateful of themselves, and that ideology needs to manifest through politics and social media, because those are the only two social venues left for it to manifest itself. It like they can't go out and just be really fucking cringe and abnormal and stinky at a coffee shop because there's no local coffee shop to go act out at. You know? You know how to do this? You can turn the person that hates everyone and then make them cry. Oh yeah, these people are like constantly very close to crying. And a lot of the reason that I know this stuff is because I actually used to be not necessarily adjacent to this ideology like in college, but I experienced a lot of the same things, and I sort of drifted in that direction for a little while. You know, I'm not gonna do the whole I'm not going to say that I fell down the alt-right pipeline and then escaped or whatever, because I was not in it that deep. There are many people who were in it way deeper than I was, but you know, certainly the despair, the loneliness, the depression, whatever, the sort of the very confusing sense of angst where I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out how to address it, basically. So I started like acting out in small ways, right? But then even then, there just weren't that many places to do that. And to bolster the point here, when I was more regularly integrated into social settings, I started being a more fucking functional human being. You know? I guess that's why I enjoyed class time in college so much, because it was like a genuine opportunity to socialize and talk about interesting shit. And I was also very close to crying at any given point in my college life. You know? Depression hit me like a truck. It's hitting a lot of queer people like a truck. But instead of going into inceldom, a lot of them are calling the suicide hotline, and the administration's like, no, we hate queer people because our ideology is that of being a suicide death cult, so we're getting rid of the queer branch of the suicide hotline. I hope I didn't waffle too hard. I hope that makes sense to the people watching or listening, either in chat or on YouTube later. I might make that a segment. Because I want people to understand that, like, this is not your grandpa's conservatism that we're witnessing right now. The country is being governed by incel Nazi ideology. That is the ideology of the day that is currently running the United States. There's people like that in government. You got your Stephen Millers, you know? But also that's the base of people that is most active online and that is most feverishly devoted to the Republican Party, is the incels and the, you know, the manosphere types, people who share similar underpinnings of masculine loneliness and psychosexual frustration that they want to take out on anybody and everybody around them, but lack a venue even to do that, right? So the conservative structures in society offer to them, instead of actually addressing your problem, what if we simply acted vicariously on your behalf so that you can, you know, whinge and like whine about this shit online, and then you see us making people suffer in real life, and you get to derive Schadenfreude from that. That's the ongoing relationship ideologically between the government and the right-wing base. You know, and all of that makes sense when the next time you look at people like going back and forth on what their supposed ideological stances are with respect to being anti-war or wanting costs to come down or whatever, you know, changing tunes seemingly on a dime to support whatever Trump is doing. That's why, because they just want to see other people suffer as a method for them to act out their insecurity, loneliness, and depression and mental illness. Because there's so little left in civil society, they can't even be the, like, one racist asshole in the restaurant anymore, you know? Anyways. In times like this, I don't want it to just be like this dispassionate. I mean, it wasn't entirely dispassionate analysis, right? I connected that to some personal experiences that I had a few years ago. But I don't want this to just be like an academic sort of lens and mode of analysis, right? Because there are very real people whose lives are being affected by the queer suicide hotline being shut down next month. I mean, you know, my life could even be affected if I have, for some reason, a like depressive relapse, you know? You know, and the lives of people around me could certainly be affected to the limited extent that I have friends online. Quite a few of them are themselves queer, you know? And I guess this is just like the, you know, we're gonna be fucking going through it period of history. And I guess I'd just encourage people to stand strong if possible and like, seek community wherever you can find it, because living and surviving through this is how you win. You know, conservatives want to see you die, and you win by living in spite of them. You have to be more ready to live than they are to kill you. You know, keep going to protests and being annoying at your local town meetings or whatever the fuck, and seek camaraderie in each other's arms to the extent you can find other queer people in the community, etc. You know, anything you can do to keep living is important. And if you can't find a reason to keep living, then keep living. Do it for me. Or find a reason to do it, right? Don't let them win. I'm not usually one of the types of people that says this, but sometimes just existing and surviving is revolutionary. Yeah, be the fucking main character. Convince yourself that you're him or her. And enter the weave in parentheses positive. You know, lock in. Yeah. I don't know if there's that much else I can say about it. Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. This is just Act 2. This is just the it's so Jover part of the movie, right? We're gonna have Act 3. There's gonna be the climax, Craigasm. We're gonna be so Barack. You will never even believe how Barack we will be. We're gonna do Reconstruction 2. You know, the incels will be so mad. They will be more mad than they've ever been in their entire lives. But then everything will get better. Billions must die? No, billions must try. Anyways, I think I gotta end the segment basically there. Look, you have friends in various places, maybe not high places right now, but we will get through this. Humanity has survived worse. We will survive this, and I think that applies to the queer community as well. You know, the queer community has survived worse throughout history, and you will survive this because, you know, what, are you gonna let yourself be taken down by a fascist? No, you are an extremely cool and emotionally strong and based queer Giga Chad or Giga Stacy, and the conservatives are dumbass incels who hate you and themselves and everything else. So they're gonna, you know, throw the fucking kitchen sink at you. Just stand there with your chiseled jawline, Mew, and then tell them, nah, I'd win, and then you win. Alright. Cut the segment. Stay strong out there, folks. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.